Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And happy Double 10, everybody. And we're going to celebrate Double 10 today with our all-English unit. And we're actually not going to be celebrating something in Taiwan. We're going to be celebrating something in Africa, a place in Africa. And it's called Cape Town. It's one of the cities in South Africa. I know Johannesburg is another one of the cities there. But in this particular case, Cape Town is a beautiful place that lots of people are moving to, and they're actually working there. And we're talking about something called digital nomads. What are digital nomads?
Someone who works online and doesn't have to work inside of an office or to be on site, as we refer to that as being, I have to go into the office, I have to be on site for my particular job. Maybe you work with a team a lot and you really need to have a hands-on meeting. Maybe there's something you pass around to each other. There are lots of types of jobs where you can't work remotely or away from the office. We're going to talk about these kinds of folks. They're referred to as nomads, and a wave is just a trend. We're going to talk about how they're doing this. They may not stay long-term in South Africa. They may just be there for less than a year. But a lot of people who have a great yearning or desire to see the world, this has given them an opportunity to still have a job and yet move around and see the world. But as we always do, we're going to read through our lesson first, and then we'll be back, but no Chinese teacher today. So Tom and I will try to speak as clearly as possible.
In Cape Town, South Africa, a fresh influx of inhabitants is causing a stir. Known as digital nomads, these individuals are transforming the city's environment and sparking debates around urban growth and the welfare of local communities. By definition, digital nomads are professionals who exploit advanced technology to facilitate remote work while embracing a nomadic lifestyle, all without disrupting their careers. Frequently moving between locations, these nomads primarily work in sectors such as technology, creative industries, and consultancy, which are particularly conducive to remote operations. This working trend has grown in popularity following the COVID-19 pandemic, with an increasing number of professionals opting for this lifestyle and being drawn to specific locations that accommodate such a mode of living. Cape Town, with its impressive landscapes, lively culture, and relatively affordable living expenses, has emerged as a preferred destination for many. Acknowledging the potential economic benefits, the South African government has enthusiastically welcomed this influx. With the introduction of a digital nomad visa in early 2024, these global workers are now allowed to reside in the country for up to a year. This policy aims to boost the local economy by utilizing digital nomads' tendency to blend work with tourism, which supports the local economy. However, not all that glitters is gold. As the digital nomad population grows, so does the cost of living in Cape Town. The demand for short-term flexible accommodations has driven up housing prices, placing significant pressure on local residents, many of whom struggle to afford living in their own neighborhoods. Caught between the promise of economic prosperity and the risk of community issues, Cape Town stands at a crossroads. What the government must do is expedite the development of comprehensive strategies to harness the potential of digital nomads while reducing the negative impact on its residents and communities. Okay, everybody, let's get to it. Let's talk about the contents of today's lesson. We're talking about Cape Town. Again, that's a city in South Africa, and it's confronting the digital nomad wave. Okay, digital has to do with computers and the internet. A nomad is a person who wanders around. Okay, sometimes we talk about nomadic tribes, say in Africa or in the Middle East. They don't really stay in one place. They move according to the seasons. Or many of the Aboriginal tribes or the First Nations people in North America were nomadic. They roamed around, like the Sioux people. They roamed around. They didn't really have any established cities. They were nomadic. So these are people who move around the world and live in different places, and they work in an apartment, in their hotel room, or whatever. And they do this because they can, because it's fun, and I guess they can combine work and adventure at the same time.
I bet some of them could go out to a park and just work out in a park and be okay if they could get Wi-Fi there.
If they don't mind the bugs.
Yeah, if the weather's good. I'm not sure what the weather's like in Cape Town, so I can't tell you that. But yeah, we also call a nomadic people, there's another word for them is gypsies. Gypsies are from Romania originally. They wander from place to place. Yeah, so you could be called a wanderer, someone who doesn't stay in one place for very long. So we're going to talk about this particular trend. It is kind of picking up, and we'll talk about why it's become so popular. What was the reason behind it? We used to always go into the office and work, and now it seems like some of us have a little bit more freedom. Or maybe we have 1 or 2 days at home, which is kind of nice if your boss lets you do that. Well, in Cape Town, South Africa, they've got a fresh influx of inhabitants, and it's causing a stir. To cause a stir means to get people talking about something. Influx is a noun, and it just means the arrival or the entry of something, usually large numbers of people or things. You'll see it in the news. There was a massive influx of illegal aliens or a massive influx of refugees from another country coming to your city. So here's a fresh, so they're new, fresh means new, a new entry of inhabitants. People who live somewhere are inhabitants.
Right, and of course these are new residents, I suppose. They're inhabitants who are flooding into Cape Town, and it's causing a stir. People are noticing this, and maybe it's beneficial, and maybe it's a disaster at the same time. And known as digital nomads, these individuals are transforming the city's environment and sparking debates around urban growth and the welfare of local communities. So when something like this happens, people need to talk about it. They need to discuss it on talk shows or whatever. So, of course, they are transforming the city's environment. They're changing the nature of the city there. And, of course, that represents changes for people there. They could be good changes. They could be bad changes. But people have to have debates, sparking or inspiring, starting debates around urban growth. He has a good idea to have all these new people in the city. And what is it going to do for the people who already live here? Will it be good for them or will it be bad for them?
Now, moving on to the second paragraph, it says, by definition. When you see by definition, you know what follows is going to be an explanation of some sort of term or phrase that you aren't aware of. When you talk about a nomad, it's different than talking about a digital nomad. They're different. So a digital nomad is someone who actually works remotely or works abroad or works in a different city or country, or they don't have a specific home. They just go from one place to another, but they still have the job that they do. Hey, they could be a freelancer, Tom. They could pick up a lot of different jobs. I have a cousin, for example, who just designs websites. It doesn't matter where she lives. She could live anywhere because everything she does is online, and she has different clients. They could be a business or a private citizen. She could be a digital nomad, except she has kids. So she needs to stay home while her kids are still in school. These digital nomads are professionals, meaning they make a living doing what they do, and they exploit advanced technology to facilitate remote work while embracing this lifestyle.
To exploit means to make use of something, basically to use something. It often has a negative meaning, like maybe people will exploit their workers. They'll make them work 20 hours a day and only pay them $2 an hour or something like that. You're exploiting somebody, you're using them to your advantage. But in this particular case, they're using advanced technology to their advantage in order to facilitate remote work, which means it makes it easier for them to work off-site. They don't have to work in the office. They can work wherever they want to. And they can also have this nomadic lifestyle, which means they can move around the world and live wherever they want to. And this will all be done without disrupting their careers. Now, here we've got the word disrupt, which means to interrupt or interfere with something. Their careers can continue to move forward. For most people, if you go off and live somewhere else for a while, that's going to seriously harm your career, okay? All your coworkers in the office are going to get the promotions, and when you come back, you'll be lucky if you still have a job there. But here, these people are working in various parts of the world, and their careers continue to move forward.
Yeah, they're embracing that nomadic lifestyle. Remember, to embrace can be hug, but it also means to accept or to start using something. And nomadic is the adjective form of nomad, nomadic lifestyle. So frequently, they move between different locations. And these nomads primarily or mostly work in sectors such as technology, creative industries, and consultancy. We'll often use this word sectors when we're talking about the economy and the business world especially. There are different sectors. Just means there are different types of business that are distinct from other types of businesses that make up the economy as a whole. So you've got tech, you've got creative industries, maybe design, and it could be design of lots of different things. You've got consultancy. If you're a consultant, and that's what we call the person who consults or has a consultancy, it's somebody who has a lot of expertise or experience in a particular field, and rather than work for one single company, they could leave and just be freelance. And people could contact them knowing they have a lot of experience, and they would be giving other people advice for which that advice is paid for, obviously. Those are consultants. And these kind of, this situation is particularly conducive to remote operations. So depending on your job or what field or sector you work in, it could be that you could be somebody who's going to make a great digital nomad and sometimes not so much. So you have to kind of look at the kind of work you're currently doing. Conducive is an adjective, and it means making a certain situation or an outcome likely or possible. So it kind of makes it easier if you're in particular sectors.
Right. So if you're a lawyer, you can't do this because you need to go to court and you need to meet clients and things like that. If you're a doctor, you can't do this because you need to see patients and you need to work out of a hospital.
A dentist.
A dentist as well. Maybe even delivery drivers or Uber drivers or whatever. They just can't go off and live in Cape Town or Bali or whatever. And so these particular industries, technology, the creative industries, consultancy, etc., they're conducive to remote operations. You can work in places far away from your office and get away with it.
Yeah.
Now, this working trend has grown in popularity following the COVID-19 pandemic, with an increasing number of professionals opting for this lifestyle and being drawn to specific locations that accommodate such a mode of living. So that's kind of a long sentence here. Let's break it down. We've got this working trend, and it became more popular after the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, you remember that. That went on, from 2019 until 2022 or so. Lasted about 3-4 years there, and lots of people had to work at home. And I think a lot of people found out that, hey, this is great. I don't have to fight traffic in the morning. I don't have to have my boss looking over my shoulder all the time. It's great to work from home. So this working trend began at that time, and a lot of professionals have opted or they have chosen this kind of lifestyle, and they're also drawn or attracted to specific locations that can accommodate such a mode of living, a place that makes that kind of lifestyle possible. So you can't obviously move anywhere. You could not, say, move to Mongolia and expect to move your career forward in the technology sector.
Unless they have plenty of Wi-Fi, which I doubt. So I wanted to mention here, if you opt for, it just means you choose. But if you use opt, guys, you have to opt for something. You need the preposition for. To opt for something. The noun form is option. You could also use choose, as Tom did as well. He substituted opt for choose. Choose does not require a preposition. You choose something. Something is a noun or a noun phrase. But you opt for something. You have to have that for. Here we're talking about you can be drawn to specific areas or locations that accommodate such a mode of living. A mode of living, a method. Mode just means method there. And accommodate to meet just means to meet somebody's needs or fulfill their wishes. So, yeah, it depends on what you're in and also the locations. Because can the location you've chosen actually fulfill your needs or accommodate your needs?
Right. And Cape Town, of course, has got a lot going for it. It's got impressive landscapes. It's got lively culture and relatively affordable living expenses. And with those things, Cape Town has emerged as a preferred destination for many. So a lot of people are attracted to Cape Town for these various reasons. It's got great scenery there. You've got lots of culture there, lots of different kinds of people living there. And it's not so expensive to live there. And also, it might be close to some other travel destinations. Maybe you want to plan to travel to Namibia or something, or Madagascar or Mozambique. They're not too far away. Tanzania, exactly. There are all countries there that you can travel to. So, yeah, a lot of people might think about moving in that part or moving to that part of the world, living in Cape Town.
Yeah, it says here that Cape Town has emerged as a preferred destination for many. To emerge here just means it's become really apparent to people, or it's become important or prominent. People are noticing. Right now, someone who usually talks to us is not here today. So we're just going to take a quick break, maybe eat a few snacks, and then we'll be back.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you're all nice and rested, and we're going to continue with our lesson. Now, again, we're talking about digital nomads who seem to have been drawn to Cape Town, South Africa, for various reasons. Now, remember, digital nomads are people who work online, and they're able to do this because they work in different sectors of the economy. They work in technology or the creative industries, and they also work in consultancy. You don't really need to be any specific location in order to work. You can move around the world, and lots of people are attracted to Cape Town, again, for various reasons, but it's got impressive landscapes, it's got some lively culture there, and it's not so expensive to live there. So, again, lots of people are moving there.
They really are. Moving on to the next paragraph, it starts with acknowledging the potential economic or economic benefits. The South African government has enthusiastically welcomed this influx. If you acknowledge something, you say you know it's there, you admit the existence of something, you accept something, especially the truth of something. Well, the government, of course, is saying, yeah, we get that this is helping us economically. We're getting more tax dollars in. It's helping your government. Whether it helps the people is another story. But it's helping the government. So they've acknowledged that there are potential economic benefits. They're getting money from these newcomers, these nomads. And they've enthusiastically welcomed this influx. Remember, influx is a big, large group of someone, usually people that are arriving. If you're enthusiastic, you're really excited about something, you're very eager for that thing, whatever you're excited about. Enthusiastically, of course, is the adverb form you would use here. So they're welcoming this new group of digital nomads that are coming.
Right, you have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement about something, and of course the government is very enthusiastic about this influx because if all these people are coming in, hey, they may be able to make some money from these people or improve the government or whatever. And with the introduction of a digital nomad visa in early 2024, which is earlier this year, these global workers are now allowed to reside in the country for up to a year. So they realized that these companies were sending people here or people were moving here to work remotely in Cape Town. So the government thought, well, let's make it easier for them. Let's give them a visa or permission to live there that will last a year. So again, these are global workers, workers from different parts of the world, and they can reside in South Africa for up to a year. If you reside someplace, you just live there. Like we all reside in Taiwan, for example, unless you're listening to this program overseas somewhere. But we all reside someplace, and here the people can continue to live in Cape Town or South Africa for up to a year, and then I suppose they could renew their visas or get a new one or whatever.
If you reside somewhere, that means you're there permanently for a time. You can't say, I'm residing in a hotel while I travel the country for the next 2 weeks. No, you would stay in a hotel, but you would reside somewhere if that was your permanent home in a particular place for a while. Here we're talking about people living there for up to a year. If you reside somewhere, you're called a resident. I wanted to mention the difference between inhabitants and residents. We don't usually use inhabitants or inhabit when we're just talking about normal everyday life. We use inhabitants when we're talking about history or peoples in general around the world. But we're talking about just normal folks like us who just live somewhere and work and, have families. Those are residents. You wouldn't talk about, they inhabit the country for up to a year. That would be weird. So notice that there are differences, even though the definitions might be very similar, and they are. If you look up inhabitant and resident, there are some similarities, but they're used in different ways. So make sure you pay attention to that when you're putting together your English sentence.
Yeah, I tend to think inhabitants are people who live in some place in terms of science or scientific studies, whereas a resident is more of a social construct. So if you talk about people who oppose government policies, you could say, the residents in that part of the city are opposed to the new tax law. You could say something like that. So again, they're allowed to reside or live in the country for up to a year. Related to what you said earlier, you can't reside in a hotel. You can't really live in a hotel either.
Maybe if you're the CEO or you're a billionaire and that's where you live, you hate homes.
But for most people, if you're staying the weekend in a hotel or something, you stay in the hotel and you don't live there. Well, this policy aims to boost the local economy by utilizing digital nomads' tendency to blend work with tourism, which supports the local economy. So again, they want to have these digital nomads there because they're not just there working, they're also spending money and supporting the local economy. They want to blend or mix work with tourism, so they're working from their residence, but at the same time, they're going out to eat and they're going to different tourist spots and spending money, so that supports the local economy, so local people can get jobs as a result.
Now, in the next paragraph, we start out with a very famous idiom. Not all that glitters is gold. So sometimes you look at something and it seems awfully appealing or attractive to you, but then you start looking closer and you think, it's got some negatives to it, doesn't it? It's not all a bunch of positive things here. There are some negatives or there are some cons to the pros. So here we're saying, this isn't all good. Let's look at some negative factors in this particular situation. We've got the digital nomad population growing, and as they grow, so does the cost of living in Cape Town. We saw that here in Taiwan when suddenly there were people from China that were able to come over and buy homes, and suddenly real estate was going up faster than we expected. That always happens when you've got people from the outside, and this happens in the States as well, and when you have people coming in from out of state buying property, suddenly the locals can't afford to buy a home in a place where they grew up, where they were born and raised. And that's what's happening to those local residents. We call them local residents in Cape Town.
So the rents are going up even for the locals, and the demand for short-term flexible accommodation has driven up housing prices, placing significant pressure on local residents, many of whom struggle to afford living in their own neighborhoods. Okay, so again, these people are moving in and they're not satisfied living in tents or in hotels. They want to have nice apartments, decent places to live that offer parking and, neighborhood parks and things like that. So they have this demand for short-term flexible accommodations, which means they want to have a nice place to live. And of course, accommodations are places where people can live, basically, where you can be accommodated or taken care of, and they want it to be flexible and short-term. So I guess they don't want to sign long-term leases, and they want to be free to be able to leave at any time. Maybe they stay there for a year or two, and they get bored of South Africa, and they decide to move someplace else, like Chile, or Madagascar,
Thailand,
or Thailand,
or Taiwan,
or the Czech Republic, or whatever, or even Taiwan. I'm sure there are a lot of people who have thought about coming to lovely, lovely Taiwan as well.
I wanted to mention here, the word accommodations also refers to hotels or motels or places you stay like that, like Airbnbs. Those are your accommodations. Someone would go perhaps say, oh, I heard you went on a vacation. How are your accommodations where you went? And you could tell them. So notice, too, that if you're studying British English or you have plans to go to the UK, they do not say accommodations with an S. They say accommodation. And that's where English in America and in the UK differs. So be careful with that. Yeah, there are just a lot of choices out there. But unfortunately, what happens is when these digital nomads who usually are making a fair amount of money from their careers, and they're usually not in their 20s. They're usually a little older, their 30s and 40s, even 50s. They can afford to rent a place that is more expensive, and it's driving up prices everywhere, not just with housing, but probably with food, with gas, with tourist places. It could affect a lot of things in the economy there.
And, of course, these new people probably don't care too much about the locals. Oh, that's their problem. They're not working hard enough.
Well, they're not going to stay long term. Why do they care? They'll only be there short term.
Indeed, and then they'll take their problems to some other place in the world. But that brings us to the end of that paragraph. Let's move on now to the final paragraph here, where we wrap things up. It says, caught between the promise of economic prosperity and the risk of community issues, Cape Town stands at a crossroads. So here, if you're a resident of Cape Town, if you're in the government or there, you're kind of caught in a situation. You know, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situation. And yes, indeed, they want to increase the prosperity of the place by allowing these people in, but at the same time, it's causing problems for local residents because the prices are going up and they can't afford those housing options, so maybe the crime rate goes up as well. So yeah, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, not really a win-win situation. Maybe a win-lose situation or a lose-win situation. I'm not sure which one.
It reminded me of another idiom we use. If you're caught between a rock and a hard place, it means there's no easy way out. A rock is not good. A hard place is not good. You're kind of stuck in the middle. So, yeah, they've got some problems here. So the Cape Town stands at a crossroads. Notice here we're not saying a crossroad. No, this is also a very popular idiom. If you're at a crossroads, it means you've got a very, very important decision to make, and it will affect your future. So the phrase especially is, you're at the crossroads. And this is the situation that they are in. The Cape Town stands at a crossroads. They've got to make a decision what to do. Do they accommodate these digital nomads and take in more money through taxing and the government, which makes the government folks happy, but affects the locals? We don't ever see that money trickle down. So what the government must do is expedite, speed up, that's what that means, the development of comprehensive strategies to harness the potential of digital nomads, while at the same time, good luck guys, reducing the negative impact on its residents and communities. Comprehensive means it covers everything. Comprehensive healthcare would mean healthcare that pays for or is insurance that pays for everything that you might need. Comprehensive strategies, a comprehensive plan here. And what does harness mean, Tom?
Harness, well, that's what you put on a horse so that you can ride it. Well, that's the noun form, but here the verb form just means to be able to use something and to take advantage of something.
Control it, yeah.
Like scientists are always thinking of ways to harness the power of the sun to get electricity from the sun or whatever, to harness or use something. So yes, they want to harness the potential of those digital nomads. Basically, they want their money, but at the same time, they need to keep the locals happy. They need to reduce the negative impact on the residents and the communities. And yeah, they don't want those people to be unhappy because guess what? If they do have free elections there, those people will not be voting for you in the next election. So that's what a politician has to worry about.
All they have to do is cheat, Tom. They could be reelected.
True. Yeah, it depends on where you live. But in any case, yeah, the idea is that they need to find a way to keep everybody happy.
Good luck, yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. And again, there's no Chinese teacher, so we're at the end of our lesson.
We are.
And thanks for joining us. And again, if you want to hear more content or see more content, check out our sites on YouTube, our channels on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot by doing that. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie. Bye.
Goodbye.